Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Gaijin has announced that the A4E is returning for Israel as a premium. This vehicle was kind of one of the starter premiums that you could get for Israel, but then they kind of removed it. Well, to celebrate its first flight anniversary, it's coming back, and it's also going to be here to stay. So you'll be able to pick it up for G whenever. They are doing an initial 30% discount on it until the 14th of July. So if you want to pick it up, at least it's a little bit discounted. One of the things I would say though, since it's going to be back forever, it will eventually get 50% discounted on either stuff like anniversaries or even in the summer. So if you want to wait that long, you can. In this video, we'll review it, and then also talk about some submarines and how they could be implemented in the game. By the way, I'm on holiday from today until basically Tuesday, so if there's any questions or any thoughts or anything, unfortunately I won't be able to answer them, as I will be away from the keyboard. So, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let's get into the A4E. So the A4E is a vehicle for Israel, which isn't too bad in terms of ground, but in air it's kind of useless, and that's a bit of the issue. So the A4 got changed more recently. Basically what they did with it is they actually added the kind of multi-BRs to it. So you can see how it's 8.7 in air and then 9.3 in ground. So in ground realistic, it's a lot lower BR, but that's just because its capabilities are also a lot lower. Basically, in Aerialistic, you have access to two AIM-9Bs, which are right here. And then also, you get a variety of different stuff, including some incendiaries, so you can hit bases if you're fast enough, which most of the time you're not. And then also, you get some additional weapons too. You can even have a bit of fun and try and run this loadout with the 20mm and the AIM-9Bs. It's not going to work very well for you, so I wouldn't really bother. So if you're looking at this as kind of like an Air RB grinder or an Air AB grinder, don't. It's not going to. They moved down some of its predators, meaning that you're never going to get into a match where you're not going to face stuff that's going to knock you out the sky. And obviously 9.3 is a very aggressive BR in Air Realistic, so you're going to just get donked. When it comes to ground though, there is definitely a place for this in a ground lineup. And 9.3 at the moment, Israel has actually moved around a lot of stuff recently, but you do have a 9.3 lineup. You have the two Magags here, the Magag 7, the Gal Batash. You also have the Magag C as or 6C as a backup. You also have the Magbet, the Magag 6B Gal. And if you want to take it as 9.7 with the two Makavas, you could definitely do that too. It's one of those things that could happen because it's still got a pretty good loadout. This thing gets 3 guided bombs, and they are guided bombs which are pretty easy to use. The 2 walleyes and then also the GBU-8. All of these are very large bombs. You can see here the walleyes are 510 kilos, which give a lot of TNT equivalent, and then the same with the GBU-8. So all you have to do is kind of get the bomb near the target, and then you're good to go. What you can also do, since this is a premium, is you can test drive it with this loadout, and you can kind of get used to the bombs before you take it into the ground forces. But as a person who has used the guided bombs quite a lot on this thing, it actually works surprisingly well. The only issue I would say nowadays is since it's a higher BR, you go up against a lot more missile machines at 9.7 and 10.0 and 10.3, which are pretty good in terms of taking you out. So it's one of those where you do have to watch out way more for AAs than you used to, but also it can still be incredibly powerful with that lineup. The other problem as well is if you have a look at the tech tree, you already have the A4E Early M. So this one exists, and it has exactly kind of the same loadout as the premium. So if you want to grind it out, it's there basically for free that you can bring along. So it really depends on if you want to grind through this Israeli tech tree or not to get to that vehicle. The Israeli tech tree is not very fun to grind, I'm not going to lie. You know, the rank 4, there's a few okay planes such as the Spitfires. Rank 5, you know, the NF-13 is not bad, but everything else is pretty mediocre. And then over here, a lot of stuff is mediocre, apart from the Ayit. And then also up here, it gets a little bit better, but not too much. So the actual grind to the A4E early, even though it doesn't seem very far, can be very tedious, which is why buying this might just be easier. But that's obviously a personal choice. So after all of the large battleships have been added to the game, I know there's a few others that people want to see, but we've got some of the major ones: the Yamato, the Bismarck, of course the Iowa, all of these wonderful machines. And it would be nice to get some more British ones, maybe some other ones from other nations, like Italy has quite a few, which would be kind of cool. But the main thing that's been racking in my mind recently is about submarines, because BVD said last December that they were working on adding submarines this year. I think what's going to happen with them is they're probably going to add them in as maybe pre-order vehicles by the end of the year, and then next year we're going to get some submarine tech trees in each of the tech trees, or at least the ones which would make more sense. And then that adds some more gameplay, adds a bit of difference, which I think Naval desperately needs, since basically everybody just plays Naval the same. It's really just kind of like a farming simulator, where whoever has some coastal machines wins the match, if it isn't just one of the big circle maps, which are not exactly fun to play. So I've been trying to rack my brain about how the hell do you actually make submarines work? How do you make them part of the actual maps and matches and make them more interesting? And in the standard system that we have in War Thunder, I don't think you can. I don't know how you would actually take something which is like submarines and add them into the kind of standard 3 cap thing, because submarines aren't very quick, they're not very survivable once they have to surface, and then also at the same time they are very limited in terms of their armament, especially in players which are going to be maneuvering a lot, since that's kind of how you stay alive, especially in Naval Arcade. Now they can technically boost the models, so make the vehicles faster, make these submerge and also re-emerge a little bit quicker, and make their maneuverability a bit quicker. But at the same time, you're still going to be pretty limited in terms of what you can do. The only way I can think of really adding them in is if they chuck them into like an enduring confrontation mode, similar to the one that we see on the weekends with Naval, where you make it more of a PvE event where players are turning up. So stuff like PvPvE, which is obviously the big thing right now. Of course, Tarkov getting a new update recently, and PvPvE being on all people's minds, since it's the game genre that a lot of devs seem to be trying consistently to get into. There's no reason why War Thunder couldn't expand into it, especially when it comes to Naval. Already they kind of have, with the addition of more bots in the earlier part of the year. And if they can really get the Naval EC stuff rolling, make it more of a strategic game mode with convoys, with, longer times, with caps everywhere, with, areas where you can spawn in, submarines would definitely have a place, because you could add in missions which would be specific to submarines. Now, this would make it a little bit of a problem because of the fact that if you do that, it would end up being a situation where if one team has the submarines and the other team hasn't, there's not really a ton you can do about it. But also, unfortunately, that's kind of like how all War Thunder is, right? Where you can have specific areas of the game that fit specific vehicles very well, but unfortunately your team doesn't have any, so you just kind of lose out on that, and therefore you have to make some more strengths in other areas. I think that's probably the way that I would look at it. The other thing is there are submarines which do have, armaments on them outside of torpedoes. Some of them do have guns attached to them and all of those types of things. So maybe there's a chance where, that could be something that works out. The other thing is there's also missile submarines, which that would be another way of adding more modern technology into the game, and also making it so these types of machines could come to the surface, fire the missiles, and then go back down again, meaning that there is a chance of vulnerability when they pop up, and then when they go down, they can reposition and then kind of go again. Maybe that's some way that they can actually make them interesting to play. But unfortunately, apart from that, I don't really know how they could, and I would love to hear opinions on it. It's something that I'm kind of stumped on in terms of the game and in terms of the way that they're actually going to do these things. If it isn't like a massive overall combined mode, similar to many other naval games that have come around the place, more realistic ones, such as the ones based around submarines, I don't really know how they do it. I don't really know how they make it fun. But maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe it will just work, then plunging all of these submarines into the standard game mode. But something tells me no, I don't think that's the case. I think the game will struggle with them coming in, unless fundamental changes are made. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.